My Atlanta Falcons came so close to beating the reigning Super Bowl champs on Sunday Night Football, and they will be going up against their division rival, the New Orleans Saints, who are coming off a devastating defeat against the Philadelphia Eagles in their Week 3 matchup. Brian and I, we're going to break down the Saints-Falcons Week 4 matchup, the matchups within the game that you need to look out for. At the very end of the video, provide our predictions. But before we get into that, Ryan and I, we have a goal of trying to get to 100 new subscribers during this Week 4 prediction video series. And so if you haven't already, any help is greatly appreciated. So go ahead and subscribe to the Tracy Take. Leave a like and a comment on who you think is going to win this amazing game between the Saints and the Falcons. I'll say, too, just here as a Falcons fan, Saints-Falcons rivalry, I think, is a great one. I think it's one of the more underestimated ones. Both these franchises don't like each other. And Saints fans, go ahead and comment and agree with me. This might be the only time you agree with me in this video. But for the Falcons here, I was very proud to be a Falcon fan last night watching Sunday Night Football. I thought the team played well. We all can agree that there was horrible play calling decision, I think, on the 3rd and inches and then 4th and inches. But in general, though, I thought the team played really well against the reigning Super Bowl champs, even though we didn't end up coming out victorious. We definitely gave ourselves opportunities. And I think for this team, it's something that, that you just kind of can keep building on this overall performance. I thought the defense played well. Kirk Cousins in the passing game is coming in to form here. Really like honestly, I never thought I would say this coming into the season because I had a lot of questions, but the trio of London, Mooney, and McLeod looks great. Pitts is starting to build his connection with Kirk Cousins. Nearly had a huge touchdown. A couple concerns that I will talk about here in a second, but just in general, though, I think the Falcons looked really good going up against Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City Chiefs. On the Saints, you guys came down to earth just a little bit. I think you guys kind of played the Eagles at the wrong time after they had a very bad loss, I would say, to the Falcons, ironically. And I think just didn't have the offense performance you guys were all expecting here. And it came up just short, even though you guys almost won the game. But, Ryan, I want to throw it over to you. What do you think of both the Falcons and the Saints so far during the season?
Yeah, you touched a lot on the Falcons, so I'll start with the Saints. And the Saints are a better team than I thought they would be. I thought they would be a lower side of average NFL team that is going to try to hold on to the ball, play good defense, kind of control the game, run the ball. Outside of Chris Olave, I wasn't super fond of a lot of their weapons. Obviously, Alvin Kamara is a great running back, but receiving weapons, Rashid Shaheed has had his impact on a lot of games. Chris Olave is a very good receiver. And so, they have done a really good job. Derek Carr played well in the first couple of games. And the whole Saints team just, I think, had a down week against that Philadelphia Eagles defense. The one thing that they really did, that Philadelphia did, was they just started shooting every single gap and really playing downhill against the Saints in Week 3, and that really limited the run game and kind of made the Saints team one-dimensional. And then they struggled to move the ball at that point. But again, still a hard-fought loss that they had opportunities to go and win that they just couldn't quite come through. And they've surprised me so far. This is a good Saints team. And kind of on the flip side of that, I had been saying that I think the Falcons are Super Bowl contenders kind of coming into this offseason. And after the Week 1 performance, I was a little bit hesitant. I think the Falcons are really good. I think this defense is legit. This offense with Kirk Cousins, once when they can kind of get this ball rolling, I think this is going to be a really hard offense to stop. You have Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. This offensive line was run blocking decently well yesterday against one of the top defenses in the league. The pass protection was iffy Week 1, but since then, Kirk Cousins has had a little bit more time in the pocket to dish it out to these weapons. And the emergence of Darnell Mooney, I think, has been a great addition to this offense. And that was a guy I was high on in free agency. And again, even with all of that offensive firepower and how well I think that they could potentially start to play on offense, I still think this is a defensive-focused football team. This is a top 5 defense in the NFL. Matthew Judon came over for my Patriots. He's having an impact early on. Grady Jarrett looks good again for the front of this defense. Troy Anderson, Nate Landman in that linebacker room look solid as well. And Jesse Bates, AJ Terrell, Justin Simmons, all looking good on the back end of that defense. So this is a really well-rounded Atlanta Falcons football team.
Yeah, no, and that's where there's a lot of positives to take from last night's game. But now, kind of some of those things are transitioning though to this Week 4 match here against the Saints. Before we get into that, though, if you do want to put a couple bucks down on this game, especially you guys down in New Orleans, if you guys like to go to the Harris Casino in New Orleans, take a look at the link down below in the description box. BetUS has a bunch of great promotions going on right now for first-time players, including odds and over-under and other prop bets as well for this game and any other NFL Week 4 game as well. And it's going to be interesting to see who is going to be the favorite coming into this game. I will say, I think it's going to be a pick 'em a game. I mean, maybe the Falcons like 1 point favorite just because they're at home. But I think both of these teams now, especially with maybe the little bit of the digression from the Saints offense performance, and the Falcons have improved tremendously week to week from week 1 to now. Maybe put the Falcons slight edge as a favorite, but we'll have to see come kickoff time. When it comes to this matchup here, I think the thing that's going to be concerning to me, and I kind of actually shook my head a little bit there when you mentioned the offensive line for the Falcons. That's actually might be my biggest concern, I think, for this entire team throughout the season.
I wasn't trying to say they were good. They have been improving since week 1, and they actually were able to open up some holes for Bijan.
They have been improving, yes. In general, though, we didn't really get too many rushing yards until I think it was the second to last drive, where like they even had a stat. It was like 33 rushing yards up to that point before the drive, and then 51 on that drive alone. And Drew Dahlman went down. We'll have to check out his status. Looked like it was an ankle. Caleb McGarry, his knee got rolled up on it, and he went out of the game. So Storm Norton came in. So we really need to kind of monitor their status throughout. But even too, I will say with that, even if they do come back healthy, those I still think are the two weakest links on our offensive line. And I think it makes it tough to really make Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier super effective because I just don't think we get the push. Now, to be fair to the Falcons, they have gone up against DJ Watt and that defensive front at Pittsburgh. They've gone up against Jalen Carter and that defensive front in Philadelphia, and then they went up against Chris Jones and that Kansas City defensive front. So 3 top-tier defensive fronts. So it's a very tough matchup here. That being said, Saints also have a good defensive front as well. I think the Saints defense is average to above average, and by that I mean like anywhere. Some people might rank them between like 8th and 9th in the league to 15th or 16th, depending on where they go. I do think the Falcons defense overall is a little bit better. I thought we were consistently in the backfield last night against Patrick Mahomes. I know we didn't get any sacks, but I would need to double check on how many pressures we got, how many QB hits we got. Felt like we caused a lot of shaky throws and for Patrick Mahomes to roll out of the pocket. We just sometimes couldn't get them off the field at times. Like they would just get to 3rd and short, and then they would move the chains, that's what the Chiefs do. That's why they're the Super Bowl champ, back-to-back Super Bowl champs. So I think defensively, I think we're gonna provide just as tough of a matchup for the Saints as the Eagles did on all 3 levels, as all the guys that you mentioned there. On the flip side too, I think we're going to have a similar style of offense that the Eagles provide. I mean, Bijan Robinson's comp coming out of the combine, was Saquon Barkley. So we're going to have something similar. If we can improve in the running game and have it also be more run focused as well. I think Kirk Cousins in this offense is starting to click a little bit more. He was connected with Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Ray McLeod has been a great surprise. Darnell Mooney has played well also. So I think it's going to be a similar test. And honestly, you might be able to make an argument too that the Falcons' weapons, as of right now, were a little bit better than what the Saints faced with against the Eagles since A.J. Brown was out. And then Devontae Smith went out with a concussion a little over halfway through the game. So you can make an argument.
It was at the start of the 4th quarter.
Okay. So yeah, 75% of the way through the game. So on the flip side of the Saints, though, I'm going to be curious to see how they bounce back. Feels like Alvin Kamara always burns us every single time, and he burns a lot of defenses. But then I think one advantage we have is we do have that great safety combination now. What a pickup in the offseason getting Justin Simmons. But with Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons now in the backfield, going to have A.J. Terrell going up against Chris Olave. I think it's going to be potentially another tough offensive performance for the Saints. And watch, I say that they're going to put 30 points up on us, and everybody's going to be commenting here. And so I say all that. I just think we can match up well against the Saints. We have been improving more. Our X factor is just going to be this offensive line. I really think that's going to be the big difference here, because I think that's the weakness overall, and they have been improving. But if we can get better at run blocking, get the run blocking of what it was like in 2022 when Arthur Smith was there, where we had the game where we didn't even throw the ball in the second half. I think it was against the Browns. We ran every single time. We made Tyler Algier a 1,000-yard rusher. Imagine that then with this passing offense, with the improvement that Kirk Cousins brings to this game. I do think this offense can improve to being top 10, potentially even top 5 in the league, just with some of the capabilities. But in general, though, very happy with what I saw. I'm not even going to talk about the defensive pass interference call that should have been called. We still should have gotten the first down, still should have gotten in the end zone. And I would say it's just probably the worst fourth down call. So hopefully we just don't make that same decision again if we're ever put in that scenario.
That is some of the pains of having a young first-time offensive coordinator. Just maybe in certain situations, don't do that.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not the worst thing I've experienced as a Falcons fan. So like I can deal with that.
Yeah. So let's get into predictions here really quick. I'll kick it off. I'm going to go with the Falcons. One, I'll probably be watching the game with you and cheering for them anyways, so that's kind of one of my reasonings there. But I think this is just going to be a really close game, and I think the Falcons have the slightly better defense in this matchup. And usually those types of teams just end up making another play or two. And I just think the Falcons are going to edge this one out. And I'm kind of with you. I think this is going to be a relatively low-scoring game. I'm going to say 17-16. Falcons get it on a last-second field goal.
I hope. It's funny. I'm obviously going to go with the Falcons, but it's funny. With every other team, I want to watch like an amazing 55-yard game-winning field goal type game. But with the Falcons, I don't want it to be 17-16 at all. I want it to be 17-0 after the first quarter, and I don't have to worry about it too much. But we've had leads before. I'm going to go with the Falcons as well. I'm going to root for them. But if I want to look at it more on an analytical reason, on why, or an objective reasoning on why I'm going to pick them, I think the biggest thing is Eric McCoy, the center for the Saints. This is the guy that I haven't mentioned. He was ruled out of the game. So I'm going to be curious how that defensive interior matchup against the Saints offensive line. It's going to be another tough test for the Saints offensive line. And if they're down their starting center, that's going to be interesting as well. How are they going to manage that? I have liked what I've seen. Obviously, we don't have the sacks numbers yet, but I think we can go and get a couple more sacks, especially too with Grady Jarrett, David Onyemata, all those guys providing good interior pressure. Then you have Matt Judon and Arnold Ebiketie on the outside as well. I think we'll start seeing those numbers come up a little bit more. I just think we're just going to have just a little bit better matchups overall. I think we're just slightly better. I think we've been improving each week, and I think we're just going to keep learning as well. And we stole a win against Philadelphia, and Saints. Honestly, you guys should have won, but that also being said, though, too, I don't think you guys should have won because the Eagles almost handed that game to you.
The Philly kind of handed that last game to them, and that's another reason too. I think the Falcons' defense and the Philadelphia defense are set up fairly similarly. I think you look Grady Jarrett in the middle, Matt Judon on the edge. You have some really good corners with AJ Terrell and good linebackers as well. So I just think they're going to be set up similarly. The Eagles may have exposed a game plan that other teams can use to target this Saints offense to make them one-dimensional. So I like the Falcones going into this one. Let's go ahead and wrap it up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out ahead in this matchup. Will it be the Atlanta Falcons? Will it be the New Orleans Saints? Other than that, we'll see you guys next time.